Hello, and welcome to Fempreneur True Confessions podcast.
Welcome, everyone. We're so excited to have you here today. I'm Laura. I'm the owner of ODAA, a virtual agency. We are here to help small businesses grow and scale their business on the back end, doing administrative, project management, and virtual assistant work for you in small business and thriving and helping women just get it organized and help you keep growing. So we're here to help you out with Angelique.
Awesome. And I'm Angelique with Lady Powerhouse Solutions. Lady Powerhouse Solutions is a heart-centered approach to offering project and event management to women entrepreneurs who are on fire and lighten up the world with their passion and drive. And we help them achieve their mission in the most authentic way possible.
Absolutely. So together, Angelique and I are Fempreneur True Confessions podcast. And our mission here is to empower women in business and in life to live authentically and support each other instead of competing with each other. Understanding the mindset of abundance and just really understanding that women in business can be here for each other no matter what. So we also model this through our authenticity, through our business and personal relationships. So we empower other women to do the same and love to have conversations like this in regards to how we can help each other.
Right. And with other women that align with those same vision, mission, and values. And so what we're trying to do is normalize the struggles, the challenges that female entrepreneurs face and share the lessons learned with the common goal of lifting other women up, never tearing them down, and to normalize what it looks like when women succeed at supporting each other, helping each other build up our confidence, and using our gifts and passions to fulfill our life's calling. So this is a place where we're looking to build, maintain, and grow a sisterhood that believes in an abundance mindset, sharing our challenges and helping each other rise to our highest potential. We have an awesome guest with us today.
Welcome. And we have Lauren with us today. And Laura Goldstein is founder and CEO of the award-winning and globally recognized business consulting firm, Golden Key Partnership. Her clients lovingly call her the Biz Doctor, which also happens to be the name of her podcast. Her superpower is helping seven-figure service-based entrepreneurs uncover what is keeping them keeping them stuck in the trenches of their business so that they can have more freedom, impact, success, happier teams, and can breathe a much needed sigh of relief. She's been featured in the Thrive Global, HuffPost, Authority Magazine, and is a trusted expert to Fortune 500 companies like Apple, Nike, and AT&T, among others. For more from Laura, we will, at the end of the show, make sure that we give all the information on how to contact her for everyone. Welcome, Laura.
Yeah,
Lauren,
so
sorry.
welcome.
How are you?
Thanks so much for having me. It's good to be here.
Awesome. So, before the show, we always have these great conversations before and after, before we hit record, right? And we were talking about how so often we're the bottleneck in our own business. Mm-hmm. So what was your epiphany, your aha moment when you realized, oh, I'm the issue here, I'm the bottleneck?
Yeah, I think it was probably 2018 when we had a record-breaking year, and I was the most unhappy, burned out person ever. We were dropping things through the cracks. I'd said yes to too many things, and there really wasn't enough leverage in my business at that time where I could offload the stress and pressure to continue delivering world-class consulting and advising to my clients and also still keep my sanity.
Yeah. So what did that look like? Was it messy getting through fixing that and creating less of a bottleneck? We can't get rid of it. We know we can't get rid of it completely, but widening it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was messy emotionally, but I did probably the smartest thing that I've ever done. I remember it was the Friday afternoon and I just hit my wall and was crying at my computer going, how the hell am I going to get out of this? Seriously considering burning down my whole business and wrapping up the clients I had and I don't know, going back to the medical field or something. And I just closed my computer and I said, I need a day. So I closed my computer, unplugged all of my technology, took the Saturday off, didn't talk to another single human being, slept, did laundry, cleaned because I find cleaning to be cathartic, and felt like a whole new human being on Sunday. And that actually became one of the secrets to me being able to double my business without losing my shit. Sorry if this is a
Nope,
PG
nope,
show and I just made it explicit.
nope.
Um, but yeah, that change in rhythms and change in cadence actually gave me the ability to build a business without burning out. And it's one of the things that I, work through with my clients. And yeah, it was messy emotionally, but actually the solution was very simple.
How did it feel?
How did which part feel?
All of it.
All of it? I think in the moment I was feeling very overwhelmed, but then when I could take a step back and take a breath, then I felt a tremendous amount of relief because at the end of the day, you only get the same 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
We're only here for a certain amount of time, and there's no reason to run yourself into the ground. And so it was almost like I just finally gave myself permission to be a human being.
Yeah. And the reason I ask why, how did it feel is because I think there are so many women that are probably in a really similar situation where they're kind of feeling burnt out and they don't understand why. I started this business because I was supposed to, have time freedom and financial independence and all of these things. And, what we learn, I think a lot of us as entrepreneurs is that this working your own business and building your own empire, this is hard work. It's
Yes.
hard
Mm-hmm.
work. It's very, very fulfilling, but it's not necessarily easy.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're emotional beings and we feel, especially I think women, we're just more empathic, more sympathetic, more empathetic. And I don't know about you, but when I've come to hit walls and I either had to grow or let go in certain things in my business, it was emotional. It was like, well, I don't want to let that person go, or I don't want to, you know, let that task go that I do because it's my baby, it's my business.
Yeah.
But there on the other side, like you said, there's this sense of relief,
Mm-hmm.
right? And more accomplishment, and you, like you said, you felt like a whole different person. And that that can be short-lived because then we can get ourselves back into the same rut again. So I guess my next question would be like, how did you fall? Did you fall back? Did you slip? Was it the 3 steps back, 2 steps forward thing
Mm-hmm.
for a
Mm-hmm.
while?
Yeah. So I think that, in you touched on something just now that I kind of want to go back to about
Absolutely.
you know, why do we feel like it's so hard to let go? And there's this mindset shift. And actually I just was talking about this today for my newsletter. But the biggest thing between you and true entrepreneurial freedom is the 6 inches 3 pound thing between your ears, and that's your brain and the mindset of you are not your business. Because so often we start our business, we're doing it to solve a problem, and we're just going, and we don't actually think about the life that the business is creating and how to build a business around your life instead of trying to stuff your life around your business. And when I look at, I primarily work with very busy, very successful service-based entrepreneurs that are used to delivering the service. And when you take a step back and you realize that yes, you are an expert, but you're not the only one that can do it. It gives you this what I call entrepreneurial existential crisis of like, who am I? And if you know that it's coming, then you can actually be forearmed and forewarned to actually not let it stop you in your tracks and keep you stuck. Because the truth is, we are not our business, even though anytime somebody says, "Who are you? Tell me about you," the first thing we say is, "Oh, I'm a founder. Oh, I'm an owner. Oh, I own this business." But in reality, that's not who you are. But so often when we're in the build stage of a business, and I mean, I think that's why they wrote the E-Myth, right? It's not
Yeah.
about golfing all day or vacations or this and that in your first few years. The first few years, it's a build. And so if you know that going in, but you build your business around what you actually want, whether it's a lifestyle business or a legacy business, you are much better equipped to actually be able to let go of control because you're not so emotionally attached to it and your identity isn't completely wrapped
up.
around your business.
Yeah.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
So I wanted to touch on that really quick. And then remind me of the question that you asked right before I went off on my tangent.
I don't remember.
You
I
don't
go
remember?
with the flow, man.
Okay.
I don't have these
Okay.
prescript. I mean, I have a few questions,
Yeah.
but
Oh, I
Laura,
remember.
do you remember?
I remember. It was you asked me what happened. Did it go one step forward, two steps back?
Yeah.
How did I fall? How did it fall back together? So I actually did the second thing that really exponentially changed my business during this time of great pause on a Saturday. Is I got really clear on what the heck I actually liked doing in my business and wanted to offer my clients. And at that point, I'd had my business for, I want to say 8 years. So we had a lot of what I call business barnacles. We had things that we had said yes to over the years that then, as we'd grown, as we shifted, maybe felt less and less aligned. So I took some time and went from us being, let's say, a mile wide and an inch deep to a mile deep and an inch wide. And I killed all of my darlings and said, we're only going to focus on these things. We're only going to focus on what I really love doing, which is our diagnostic deep dive, advising, or fractional COO work. And that was it. And that gave me another sense of tremendous relief. And you could say it took me 2 steps back, but really what it did is it quantum leaped me forward. It might look like we took 2 steps back, but it opened up space and time and energy and focus and referability and clarity. And so it hands down was one of the best things I could have done is to take a breath and say, what the heck are we doing here?
Yeah.
This can't continue. It's not sustainable. It's not scalable. Something's got to change.
Yeah.
I'm glad you, sorry about that, mentioned the scalability thing because what you talk about the differences between growth and scaling. And so how did you get to that understanding? Did you go through something within your business or was it just a process of working with the clients?
A little bit of both, but I mean, I've been doing this 12 years. I've worked with hundreds of businesses. And I think where people get shot in the foot is they use growth and scalability interchangeably.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm just going to scale my business when really what they're looking to do is grow. So in my professional opinion, growing a business is where you're consistently adding to your team, your operations, you're investing in the business, which generally translates to your expenses and your revenue are in a photo finish every month. You're profitable, but your profitability isn't really growing. Where scalability, so in growth stage, you're still proving your process, proving your product, perfecting systems. Where scalability is you have that proven process, proven product, predictability, profit margins are starting to grow a little bit because you're doing more with the same amount of resources. And where a lot of people get into trouble is they try to scale too early before they have that proven process, product, and predictability of revenue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think that's so true. I think it is used interchangeably. And I think that a lot of the struggles that people have with scaling is because they didn't do the growth first. And like you said, just like in mathematics, you proof the equations, right? You have to proof your processes. And
Mhm.
yeah, I love that. That's fantastic. Um,
Absolutely.
what was the other question? It was around the growth versus scaling. No, it was something you said when you were talking about building.
Mm.
And what I was visualizing in my mind was, because I worked in construction for many years, and
Mhm.
there are processes that you can apply to construction projects that are, basically the same process, even though the project itself may be different. So residential versus commercial, for instance. And those processes, once they're built and they work, then you can apply them across. And I think IT, probably project management processes, are probably the one of the few that are very, very nichey. Like, you
Mhm.
can't take an IT project and just go, okay, well, apply this process to this thing if it's not IT, right? Because
Mhm.
it's so specific. And then the other thing was, um, when you're building a home, and it's so much fun to plan, to pick out the carpet and the tile and the flooring and the wall colors and the
Mhm.
furniture and all the things.
The bright,
That's the
shiny
planning.
objects.
But the actual building
Mhm.
is when the rubber meets the road, so to speak. And that's the part I think too, people think, oh, planning is building. No,
Mhm.
planning is planning,
Right.
and building is this work.
Yeah, buildings
It's
work.
work. Like, if you're building a house, you're out there outside sweating your balls off,
Right.
building walls, building
Yep.
structure, building foundation before you
Mhm.
start putting the lamps in. Okay. You
Yeah.
can't put the lamp in there until there's 4 walls. It won't do you any good. It's just going to get broken, because, construction men are kind of, bull in a china shop kind of thing,
Yeah.
as an analogy, you
Right.
Yeah.
know.
Well, I love that analogy because I actually use a very similar analogy with building a house when I talk about operations. So when you're looking at the flow of your business, especially when it comes to profitability, team, operations, etc., if you think of them like the plumbing and electric in your house, like you're not going to test it out when everything's done, when drywall's up, when it's decorated. Like you're not going to say, "Oh, I hope the water turns on," or "I hope this light works." That's not how it works. You want to test it out, experiment, get the flow moving, make sure all the kinks are worked out before you build the true operational process and structure. Because I see a lot of first time or early stage entrepreneurs over optimize, or rather over leverage their business with too much team or too much operations
Mm,
when they need more agility. So
Mhm.
if you're in the first 2 years, you're going to have systems and processes, but they're probably going to be pretty flexible and change a lot because you want to make sure that you're perfecting the process as you go,
Mhm.
versus more established businesses are still living, breathing things, but they have less change in their processes because they've had that proven process, that proven product, etc. And so oftentimes when I'm talking to a group of newer entrepreneurs, I say, you got to do a lot of this stuff up front on your own before you start bringing in all of this tech or people or whatnot, because you'll end up spending a lot of time and energy when you don't even have the plans of your house done yet.
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
Love
exactly.
that. And
Exactly.
it makes a lot of sense because I think new business owners come in with a thought of what business is really going to be like, and small business owners, as they slowly start to see, and then thinking of skipping over things. And I'm like, things you're skipping
Mhm.
right now are some of the most, those are foundational. Like, that's the most important things. You don't want to skip those. And I understand wanting to, but yeah, that's where all that work comes in. And when you talk to new business owners and you're like, well, the first 2 years it can look like a crazy hot mess for a second for a reason. Like it's coming at you pretty hard and fast. So,
Yeah.
and there's an understanding there once you've gotten past a certain point. You're like, okay, I can now see some repetitive stuff. Let's do this, and and be willing to bend with that. So, but I find rarely
And
that.
construction building is messy.
Oh yeah.
It's messy.
See.
There's scraps. There's um, cuts that were the wrong cut, or the wrong length, or even when I was doing commercial properties, there it's messy.
Mm-hmm.
Drywall, it's messy. you know and I don't think a business, even a virtual business, because I had a brick and mortar, I don't think a virtual business is all that different. No, there's not a big fancy building to worry about, but you still have the building of the infrastructure and the processes and the team, however small, that it can be messy, because if you hire the wrong team member and then you have to let them go, that can be messy. you
Mm-hmm.
know um I had a thought and it escaped me, but I want to open it up to you, Lauren, because you are a plethora of experience and knowledge, and sometimes I wish we had the ability for people just to like call in. Now I know why the radio shows used to do that, because it's so dynamic and it gives people like the ability to ask questions and things like that. So I
Mm-hmm.
just want to open up to you and ask you what some of the most valuable lessons you've learned during your business journey as an entrepreneur, and then you can share as few or as many as you'd like.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. And it's funny you say that. I actually hold open office hours a few times a month to let people just come and pick my COO brain. Um,
That's
so
awesome.
during my journey, I'd say there's two, maybe three things that, hindsight makes very clear. The first is really understanding who you're bringing in as your first hire. So I do hiring for a living, but well, not for a living, but it's part of my fractional COO work is building teams. Um, and in my advising, making sure you have the right team for you. So something that I did in my first hire was I accidentally hired a worker bee because nobody had taught me differently. And
Mm-hmm.
so I just needed someone to help me with various tasks to get me out of the weeds. But what ends up happening when you don't know the difference between a worker bee and a player is worker bees actually make you do two people's jobs. Your job and then the job of trying to figure out what they need to do.
Yeah.
Versus a player, they come with a plan, they're very project oriented, they actually give you time back, and players create profit, whereas worker bees create stress and expense.
Yeah.
And so that would have been my first golden nugget, if you will, is to get really clear not on the tasks that they need to take off your plate, but what is going to make the biggest difference in your life, and go hire somebody to do that. Whether it's sales, whether it's marketing, it's customer relationships. Maybe you need somebody to do your bookkeeping. I don't know. But when you get clear on what's going to free up your time the most and make the biggest impact in the business, rather than just taking some, management minutia off your plate, you'll get much farther, much faster. The second one, which I talk a lot about with my clients, is if you start with the end in mind with your business, you will be set up for success way more than anyone else. So over 80% of business owners have never thought about what life looks like when they exit their business. And you will exit your business at some point. It
Mm-hmm.
just might not be on your terms. And an exit could be something as simple as you retire, or it could be something as catastrophic as the 5 Ds, death, divorce. I'm trying to think of them off my head. So death, divorce, distress, disagreement. I can't think of the fifth one. Anyway, the point is that everybody exits at some point. But if you
Mm-hmm.
think about, how can my business interact without me being the bottleneck or me being the person that's driving it, and treat it like a saleable asset from day one, you'll be ahead of the game. Because whether you're building a lifestyle or a legacy business, those are two very different animals, but they still operate the same way at exit. And so that would be my second nugget, is really think about how can you build a business that's not solely determinate around you, because that's going to help you not only make a bigger impact, you'll make more profitability, and you can have more vacations, which is, I think, what a lot of people get into entrepreneurship about, is like having more fun and vacations and not having somebody tell them what to do. And then the third thing is know thyself, and be very, very, very clear about what you say no to, because your business will grow in proportion to how much you say no to. Because if you start saying yes to things that really are a no, whether it's a client, whether it's a service, whether it's a philanthropy, you're taking away time from other things. So just having the discernment about what's a yes and what's a no is going to get you much farther, much faster, and give you a lot more flexibility over your time and your schedule.
And it feels counterintuitive, right? That your business will grow in proportion to what you say no to. It sounds like an oxymoron. It's not.
It's not.
I love it. And I especially love what you said the first time, because that's exactly what I do with clients. Is you're going to, if they say they're, I need to hire somebody to help me in my business. Oh, okay. What do you need help with? Well, this, that, and the other thing. And they really have no idea. And so I have them do basically an inventory of what do you do all day?
Yeah.
And identify what role could do that job besides you, and which ones you absolutely have to do. And then whichever one has the most tasks, whichever role, then theoretically that's the person you should hire. But I'm with you, because many times people will hire a general VA, or even a specialized VA, like somebody who is an expert in email and calendar management, because they just feel like that's all they do all day long. When in fact, like you said, a player, I call them a planner, but somebody who can do project management. So a project manager is really somebody who can think for themselves and step in and kind of see the big picture, and eventually be the person. That's what I did. First thing I did was hire a senior project manager.
Yeah.
Because I know, and she's the co-signer on my bank accounts. If I get hit by a bus, she knows how to run my business. Even if it's just so my kids can sell it off, whatever. But she's my person.
Yeah.
And
it's
I think
important. It's important to have that kind of person. And, we do something very similar called a task transition, where we look at buckets and what are like energies, because
what I heard
when I say this,
I
unicorns
heard
do not
we
exist.
look at fuckets. Like, what can we just fuck it?
Oh,
forget about that. Fuck it. But no, you said bucket with a B.
I said yes. Yes, bucket. Oh my goodness, that's really funny. Maybe I should call it buckets. I don't know. But if you take nothing else from this interview, unicorns do not exist. Stop hiring OBMs, stop hiring basic VAs, because they're not going to prioritize the same things you are, because everyone has unique talents and skill sets that they will do things that align with that and deprioritize other things that don't. And so do the task transition. We have a scorecard that we use with all of our clients that's basically your dashboard of the role, and it helps you think through, why are you actually hiring this person? What problem are they solving? Who are they in their DNA that's going to make them successful? What are they actually held accountable to? What is the mission of the role? Et cetera, so that you actually hire the right person, because it takes on average 100 hours to hire someone. That's with the finding them, that's with the training them, that's the first 90 days, that's your team's time.
Wow.
And if they don't make it to a year, it's something like 30% of their first year salary is just out the window. So I think the average is $14,000 each bad
Dang.
hire.
Yeah.
So not to mention how it impacts the business and unsettles that. So
Yeah.
really be thoughtful and proactive with your hiring.
Yeah. I'm working with a business right now that's it's kind of what happened. They didn't hire the right people, and it didn't work out well for them. But we're getting them right on the right, road. But I love that. And so you had mentioned before that the scorecard's on your website, right?
Yep.
Yes. So we definitely will drop a link for the website. Go out there, check out the scorecard, and see where you're at with it. I might even try that.
Yeah.
It's never a bad idea to reevaluate, to try other people's processes, or the years of experience that you have is different than what I've done. And so you're going to have a different take on things that might be better than mine. And I could benefit from that.
Yeah.
You never
I
know.
mean, I have a scorecard. Every company that I come in as fractional COO gets a scorecard. Every diagnostic I do, they use the scorecard. Like the team at Nike, at McDonald's, like they've all seen it, utilized it. Like it's something that just really takes the guesswork out of it and helps you manage better, and also, make your next hire your best hire because you have clarity and get the most out of your current team. So it's a very valuable resource. It's one of our most downloaded resources.
I bet.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's amazing. What? Thank you.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, any last thoughts that you want to throw out there, Lauren?
Any last thoughts? Let me think if I have any last thoughts. I would say that, since I'm already in your ears, if you're intrigued by what I've shared or want to know more about how I think about business and setting yourself up right, I do have a podcast called the Biz Doctor Podcast, and I talk about all
I
things
love that
operations,
name.
teams. Thank you. Leadership mindset, productivity. So it's really designed to help you help yourself and get out from underneath the business, which is very fun. And then I would say my last little nugget is, ask yourself this question: if you were to sell your business tomorrow, would you buy it?
Ooh,
That's a
that's a
good
good one.
Yeah,
I
because
love
I think it's yeah, it's a great question because it helps you get clarity on, like, if I'm putting my hard-earned money on the line to buy a business, would I buy my business?
Mhm.
And if the answer is no, then you got some work to do.
And I think that's a great question, but it also applies. So, like, I'm in my mind, it's rolling around already, because one of the businesses I'm working with has a commercial property that they're leasing out.
Mhm.
And I have this dream of starting a certain kind of business. And, I look at the property because she's like, "Do you want to walk through?" And I'm like, "Sure." So we walk through the property. And I'm just like, well, if I had this building, I do this and this and this and this. But we don't stop to think, would I buy that business? And,
Mhm.
or is it in demand here? Like, is it going to fly, or is it going to flop?
Yep.
Is the demographic there to utilize that business, and all those good things? Because I don't know about anybody else, but I'm so guilty of coming up with all these wonderful ideas, and just starting them and just doing it.
yeah.
And maybe, they don't cost tens of thousands of dollars, but I don't always think before I leap, or look before I
Mm.
leap.
Do you want a
So
tip?
I
You want a
love
tip
that.
for that?
Yes.
Okay. So I work with mostly creative business owners, and as fractional COO, I'm kind of like the string on their balloon and sometimes goalie to their team to stop getting them to be seagull leaders where they fly in shit all over the team and fly away with like a new idea. It's very fun.
I like that.
So what I do with a lot of my creative entrepreneurs, because here's the thing, guys, if you have shiny object syndrome, don't beat yourself up over it and don't feel like you need to stop it. You just need to harness it in the right way because you're creative for a reason. And there are 8 different types of business owners, which is something that we talk about with our clients. And some are very creative what people. So those are the project people. Those are the Elon Musks of the world. So if you suffer from shiny object syndrome as a CEO, business owner, entrepreneur, you just need an idea icebox and a triage helper. So what that means is what my clients do, what I teach them to do, is I don't care where you put your ideas. Everybody does it a little bit differently. Some do it in voice notes, some do it in Apple Notes, some do it in ClickUp, some do it in Google Docs, some send
Post-it
text messages
notes,
in Slack,
a
Post-it.
wall.
Exactly. However you do it is totally fine. You just need somebody to take that and triage it. So this is a great idea. This is in the do pile, but it's not a do right now. So it's actually going to go from do to defer. Or, oh, this is actually a good idea, but you don't need to be doing this. Let's delegate it to somebody else. They can do it. Or the delete of, oh, it just needed to get out of your brain. It's out now. This is so unrelated to your business and your vision. We're going to just put that in the recycle bin. And so when you have, it's part of the Eisenhower matrix of the do, delegate, defer, delete. But when you have somebody, and this is the key, you can't do that. You have to have somebody who's not you triage it so that you don't get so emotionally attached to your ideas that you're like, it's a great idea. Come on. Why can't you see it? And in reality, it's a terrible idea that's going to derail the team for weeks. And then you'll be mad that they got derailed and we're behind. And anyway, so you need somebody who's unbiased, unemotional to say, this was a great idea, but it is not aligned. Or this is a great idea. Let's slot it in for Q4. Or this is a great idea. Somebody else gets to do it beside you.
Yeah. I love it. That's great. And that's great advice. Absolutely. I'm not too terribly guilty at it because I'm too pragmatic. And but there have been times that I've just like, you know what, I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to do this. And fortunately, not unfortunately, but fortunately, it's not ever quite blown up in my face too badly. So
Yet.
This is true. You know what? As I've gotten older, I think I'm doing that less and less and less because, that you can't just leap into things like physically or mentally like you used to. So yeah, I love it. That is great advice. Great advice.
Thanks.
Well, thank you for being with us today. It's been fantastic. The time flew. I mean, it's already been almost 40 minutes. And, we try to keep the podcast fairly succinct. So, thank you for being with us today and sharing your expertise and your experiences. And we hope that our audience has gleaned something valuable. I can't imagine you haven't, but, do stay tuned. We're back next week where we shifted our schedule. So we used to be on Tuesday afternoons. Now we're doing Wednesday evenings for our lives. So bear with us as we're transitioning. Also, be sure to get on our mailing list because we do send out a preview, sneak peeks for our upcoming guests, and also a recap from the past month of these kinds of things, these wonderful things, the websites, the resources, and all of that stuff. So thank you for being with us today.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate. Yeah, thanks.
Sorry, Lauren.
All right, guys. Bye. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
It's stopping.